Carlos Sainz, he's had quite the rollercoaster 12 months in Formula One, spurned by two different teams 12 months ago. Now he's washed up at McLaren and suddenly his career fortunes are back on the up again. We analyse Carlos Sainz's career rebirth, if you like, in this month's F1 Racing. I'm joined by Ed Straw and Stuart Codling to talk about all things Carlos Sainz Jr. Ed, in your column in this month's magazine, you analyse how Sainz really has been able to turn his career around from a pretty desperate position last summer. What have you made of his performances so far this season? How has he got himself back on track in F1?
Well, the move to McLaren, it wasn't any port in a storm move. He could have been at Red Bull, could have been at Renault. Actually at McLaren, a team that was really in trouble last year. But McLaren has done the job superbly. They're at the front of the midfield, and Sainz is just driving superbly. His qualifying performances are fine, but it's his race performances that are really exceptional. He's a bit like Alonso, really. He's relentless in races. We've seen he's had 2 consecutive 5th places. He's had plenty of 6th places. He's shown he can turn things, well, not necessarily turn things around, but improve things in races. He passed both Toro Rossos on the first lap at Monaco to set up a great result. So he's just been banging in those results, and he looks every bit the team leader there, because while Lando Norris is quick, and actually you can argue he's been perhaps the slightly more impressive in qualifying, Sainz is the guy who's racking up the points and the results week after week after week. And considering his reputation took a little bit of a hit last year at Renault, where he had a good season with some bad luck, but probably is least impressive in Formula One, that's fantastic for Sainz's career momentum.
Codders, there was a good chance that Sainz could have ended up at Red Bull. Has Carlos Sainz dodged a red bullet by missing out on that drive and ending up at McLaren?
Massively. I think, with the benefit of hindsight, staying with Red Bull would have been a disastrous career move for him, because admittedly he was cashing in a possibility there to become the team leader figure in a team that was at its lowest ebb, but they're now a team on the up. If he'd stayed with Red Bull, they still have various problems they have to sort, but also his main problem was he would not have been the team leader, because Max Verstappen has that team in a contractual headlock. He is number one. They are entirely focused around him.
McLaren have confirmed their driver lineup for 2020, Ed, but what about the longer term picture for Sainz?
I think it's, they're very good for each other. McLaren is clearly on the up. They've got ambitions to significantly cut the gap to the big three next season. Then 2021's a big opportunity. It's great for Sainz, really, because he can stay at McLaren long term. He could be he's kind of their Alonso replacement. We have said in the past there's some similarities in the way he does things and Alonso, but he maybe isn't quite as potentially disruptive as Alonso has occasionally been at times, although sometimes that is also overstated. But it also means that there will be plenty of teams, if they're looking for an option who's proved, will then look at Sainz. So it's best of both worlds. For 2021, he could be looking at, well, either you extend at McLaren or maybe a better team will want him. So he's put himself in a great position. But I suspect, hoping that McLaren will be able to gradually inch up on the leading teams and be able to at least fight for podiums and maybe even down the line wins, is a very, very appealing pathway for Sainz right now. And that partnership with Lando Norris, who's also been confirmed for next year, looks like a very, very bright one, and it's helped to give that whole team a fresher feel, I think.
And I guess it just shows how quickly things can turn around in Formula One. It was looking pretty desperate for Sainz, and a very unlikely career move has actually turned out to potentially be the making of him.
It could have been a career ender. If McLaren had struggled massively and he'd struggled with a car, he might not have had another port in the storm to go into. So it's brilliant for him. And I think it's good because Sainz has always been a strong driver. That Renault year was a little unfortunate. He was struggling with the rear end instability, and perhaps he didn't talk up as much as he should have done the problems he was having to explain them. Plus he had some key reliability problems last year in France and Mexico that cost him Class B wins, as we call it. So yeah, it's very, very positive for Sainz. Certainly if I was him, I wouldn't be thinking I need to get out of here. I'd be thinking I need to try and ride this McLaren wave and see how far up the field it can go.